Simone Govender, a clinical audiologist by profession who evolved into a sound therapist and spiritual coach, founder of Know Your Worth Girl, a woman empowerment organization which evolved into Cosmic Creations and Cosmic Healing, a holistic approach to healing and wellness, combining sound and creative therapy. Hi, I'm Sanchia, and this is Zero Podcast. In this episode, I get to ask Simone a few questions. I hope you enjoy. Hi, Simone. As a South African, what does entrepreneurship mean to you?
As a South African female, I think entrepreneurship is about breaking through a new frontier, especially a female of color, which a few years ago was so unthinkable to actually do what I'm doing right now. I feel like, we've been so conditioned to always follow the rules, never break out of that mold, a lot of people pleasing, doing as we're told, go to school, get good grades, go to a good college, become a lawyer, doctor, an accountant, or something like that. And which is absolutely nothing wrong with those careers. I myself followed the same path, and I became a clinical audiologist in the medical field. And while I absolutely loved my time as a practitioner, as a healthcare practitioner, working with patients, there was just something inside of me that knew I needed to break out of that mold and sort of find my own path. And it was a very creative path that I needed to follow. But it's so empowering, not just for myself, but I think, for the generations behind me, and also to the generations that are going to come in future. It's just using myself as an example to light the pathway for others, and to basically be like, hey, if a girl from a small town like me can do it, so can you. There's absolutely nothing stopping you. There's no limits on us anymore. A few years ago, there were a lot of limitations on what you can do and what you can't do. But I think in the day and age that we live in now, it's absolutely limitless, and the possibilities are endless. You know, like I mentioned, I come from a small little town in the middle of deep rural KZN, out there feeling myself and doing what I wanted to do back in my hometown. And, just building myself and my business from scratch. I didn't have any funding, my family did support my decisions that I made, and I've been very lucky in that sense. But I think that when I left the medical field, when I left the mainstream sort of environment to pursue my own careers, I don't think your family really understands that part of you. They might support you, but they don't actually really understand it. For me, I used to get a lot of questions like, oh, so, you've, don't make any money anymore, or, you're not practicing anymore. What are you doing for your income? So those kind of questions still come up for me. And yes, obviously, being financially stable is very important, especially running your own business and being an entrepreneur. But I think once I let go of that fear and control of not always knowing and being certain where that income will come, when you're working in a stable job every single month, you know that you're going to be getting the salary. But as an entrepreneur, it's different. Some months you might make not as much, and some months you might make three times that you would make your normal salary in one month. So it kind of varies, and I kind of understand when our families and our parents kind of get concerned about that, because they also come from a very old school generation of just normal, mundane, going to work, getting a paycheck, and living that way. But I feel being a female entrepreneur, especially in this climate, especially in South Africa, it's just looking others looking at me and being like, wow, okay, so, there is hope. A small town girl can do this, so can I. So for me, it's all about empowering. It's all about giving back to my society, to my family, to my generations that are going to come, and to use me as a beacon of light. So basically, for me, entrepreneurship in South Africa is pretty much breaking barriers, building new foundations for our future generations to come.
Why the name Cosmic Creations?
Why the name Cosmic Creations? Well, for me, I have always been fascinated by the universe, by the stars, by the moon, by the galaxies. Even as a kid, I didn't really understand it, but I was always looking up in wonder, always dreaming about the moon, always talking to the moon, even though I had no idea why. There was just something very curious inside of me. And I am a Cancerian, so I'm a proper moon child. And, when I learned how to harness my creative energy, that's when I started producing this beautiful work. And for me as a kid, I always found myself very creative. I was always writing, always coming up with stories and poems. But I think, your schoolwork comes first, and you went to university, and that side of you sort of gets suppressed, that creative side of you. But when I had a chance to actually let this creative side out, it was so beautiful and so organic. I started making the art first. I made a few pieces. I even sold a few pieces without a name. And then one day the name just popped into my head, and it just came to me in the middle of the night. And I wrote it down. I remember very clearly. I wrote it down on my book. I always keep a book by my bedside because sometimes I just get these thoughts and these ideas, and I remember them very clearly at that moment, but like when I get up in the morning, I don't. So I remember writing it down and like putting circles around it. And when I got up the next morning, I'm like, okay, cosmic creation, that fits perfectly my sort of art style and the work that I produce. And then I created an Instagram page, and it became a brand, and here we are. I think when you're building a brand, I think the name will sort of choose you in a way. I think people put a lot of stress upon themselves to find the perfect name, to find the perfect brand. But I think when you start doing the work, it organically comes to you. And I think that's when you know that you're on the right path, when it's a flow. You're not forcing, you're not pushing, you're not pulling. It's the sort of this flow of energy that comes to you, these ideas that comes to you. So building cosmic brand for me has been a very flowy experience. And if you look at my work, it's also very flowy. So I think the name fits in beautifully with the brand.
What is something unique about your business?
What is unique about my business? Well, firstly, it's the first time I've seen anyone do this in South Africa. Not trying to pull my own horns here, but it's really popular now. There's a lot more artists coming out and doing resin. But when I first started resin art, it was completely new. It was during lockdown. There was like only about two suppliers in South Africa, so it's quite a unique experience for me. And I think the pieces itself, they are very unique. No two pieces are alike. They're all handmade. They're all hand packaged by myself. I always add a personal touch or little gift, a little crystal and scents, just to give the end user the best experience in when receiving the parcel. For me, I always think about, okay, what would I like when I receive something? And smell and scents are very important to me. So when someone receives a package from me and they open up the box, the first thing they get hit with is this beautiful scent. And it's more than just a store or product. It's a form of human connection for me. It's also unique in the sense that it evolves organically, and I sort of let it flow. My offerings are very spiritual and esoteric. I now offer sound therapy as well in combination with the creative side. So I host retreats, which are sound healing, but also creative healing as well. And for me, the two have been so important in my life. Like the first time I entered into a sound bath, it changed so much for me on a vibrational level. Like I didn't know that I could just lie down and have these beautiful frequencies come into me and just heal so much and put me in this high vibrational state. And like I mentioned, I'm an audiologist, so I understand how each frequency works. I can tell you literally each frequency and what sounds they produce and what sounds you can hear from each frequency, but I never understood the healing aspects of frequency. So it was really interesting for me as a clinical audiologist to now look at the more spiritual side of things, the more healing side of things, and how it works. So what makes my brand unique is the fact that it's very much human connection, bringing in two healing modalities, which is sound therapy and creative healing at the same time.
What does purpose mean to you?
What does purpose mean to me? I think purpose is anything you enjoy doing in your life. I think it's a thing that brings out the light and life essence in you. Because when you do what you love and you do it with passion, your light glows so bright and it inspires others to shine their own light. And I've seen purpose being found in the smallest of things. Your purpose could be anything from being a good cleaner to being a good guard, a cook, a teacher, a manager, a good mother. There's so many little things that help us to find our purpose. And it's so simple, but I think we get so caught up in this culture of confusing purpose and success. Purpose can be found in the smallest of things that we do for ourselves or we do for others, and it sort of flows. When you're a good cook and when your food makes people happy and you share this with people, that could be your purpose. But success is different. Success is very different, is very driven, and it's very ego driven. Versus purpose, I think, comes from your heart. It's your heart that keeps your light. It's the heart that has that essence of you. So your purpose is already a gift that is inside of you. We just need to learn how to harness it and bring it to life. Like, for example, my purpose that I have found throughout the years is that I am very good at reading people. I'm very good at reading energy. I'm intuitive. So I can tap into what someone else is feeling and using that power. Well, firstly, just to go back, I always thought that that was kind of a weakness of mine, caring too much. That's what I always labeled it as, because I would take in people's emotions. But now I've turned the whole script around, and I understand that what I looked at my weakness is actually my purpose and actually my superpower. And I am now able to hold a safe space for people to express how they feel, to open up in a way that they probably never opened up before, by hosting my retreats and hosting these sound sessions and hosting sharing circles. It's allowed people to bring out things that they have forgotten or may have suppressed. So for me, that is my purpose in this life, or my purpose in this business.
If you could say just one thing to those listening, what would it be?
Shine your damn light, babe. We all have this beautiful light inside of us, but I think as children, that's our light shines the most, when we don't have any demands on us, when we don't have any responsibilities, when society hasn't, dimmed our light. And over the years, our light does get dimmed. We get conditioned, we get ourselves down. People always tell us not to be authentic. And I think when we show our authentic selves, we sort of get shunned, and we have to go back into this little box, and, this box that society provides us with. And sometimes we get stuck in jobs and situations that we don't really like, and it drags us down, and it literally sucks the soul out of us. And that's how I felt when I was in my corporate job. I had all this light and this talent and this creative energy, but because I had to be put into this little box, everything got so dimmed. So what I'd like to say to you is, don't be afraid to shine, because your light is so contagious that when you shine and someone else sees it, or someone else feels it, it automatically gives them permission to shine their own light. You allow them to remember the power that's inside of them. So use your light as an example to show others that they can shine their light, and don't be afraid to shine your light and to show off your talents, because it is so unique, and you've been given these God-given gifts for a reason. So always shine. Never dim your light for anyone. Never make yourself small for anyone. And if you feel you need to break out of that mold, break out of that mold, because once you break out, that's when you are free to be your authentic self. That's when you can work from your heart center. And your heart center is the best place to be at, because that's where you make the best decisions, not just from your head. And when you allow that heart center to open, it automatically connects with the mind. And once you have that mind heart connection, trust me, you are limitless, and you can do anything you want to do. So don't let anyone tell you that you can't. Own that power again. Don't be too hard on yourself. Be gentle. Move with grace. Always share love and gratitude for what you have. And lastly, don't be scared to open up that heart again. I know your heart is beautiful. It's fragile. It might have been broken in the past. It might have been hurt in the past. Don't shut it down, because that is where your light lives. That is where your life essence is. So every chance you get, open up that heart, share your light, share that love that's in there, and gratitude. Every single day, when you open your eyes, before you do anything else, before you check your phone, before you do anything, always say something that you are grateful for, as small as it is. Thank you for allowing me to open my eyes today. Thank you for this warm bed that I've slept in. Thank you for the running water that I have to go have a shower right now. Whatever it is, however small it is, always, always, always give gratitude early in the morning.
Thanks, Simone, and thanks to all listening.